Ralph and Reginald Ralph. Get ready for a restart here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Effectively only got through the first two turns before the red flag was out and waving.
So full restart for the Saloon Car Nationals. 4 litre inline 6-cylinder engine powering the Fords, the 3.8 litre V6 motor powering the Holdens that you see on the grid. All of these cars run 5-speed manual gearboxes. Fords have got the live rear axle. The newer Holdens do have the independent rear suspension. Gives them strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the circuit, which I'll elaborate more on once we get the race underway. Restart time for the Saloon cars.
Red lights out and away we go. And Keighley stopped on the grid. It was a good start there for Madden. Neefsey finally gets away from the grid, but he'll be at the back now. Was in P number 4. But a good start again from Brendan Madden. Grant Johnson just behind him, Rick Gill in 3rd.
Well, Grant Johnson's actually gone around the outside of Brandon Madden into turn 1 to take the lead. Scott Dornan in the VY Commodore, the newest Holden in the field. A good start, moving up to 3rd position. Struggled a bit in the crazy conditions yesterday, but he's made a terrific start today. Then we go back to Rick Gill and Brock Ralph in the black VX Commodore, attacking the back of Rick Gill as they head down into turn 4. Gets up the inside, in fact, so they will swap positions, and off the road, that's Rick Gill running extremely wide at turn number 5.
He's had all sorts of problems. He's also been given a 5-second penalty for, I would assume, jumping the start maybe for Rick Gill.
So the news goes from bad to worse for him. So a couple of the fast forwards from yesterday not getting great starts today. Chris Neefsey stalling on the grid. Thankfully was not collected from behind by another car. They all managed to avoid him, but he's now got his work cut out, having dropped to the tail end of the field.
So 15-minute race, this 3rd race of the weekend for the Australian Saloon Car Nationals. And Grant Johnson works his way from starting 2nd into the lead of this race. Brendan Madden going extremely wide through the final turn. But as they come towards the start-finish line for the first time in this race, Grant Johnson out in front.
He's already a 2-time Australian Saloon Car champion at Grant Johnson. He'll have nothing more than to add a 3rd title to his tally this weekend. Is dropping wheels off the racetrack at turn 1. Brandon Madden, fastest corner on the racetrack. He had the right wheels completely in the grass on the exit of the corner, so he is throwing absolutely everything at it in the Pedders Suspension AU Falcon to try and keep up with our race leader Grant Johnson, the West Australian in the adrenaline performance machine. Not only is he a 2-time Saloon Car champion, he's also a 2-time V8 Ute Racing champion.
Controlling this race nicely at the moment out the front. There's Scott Dornan in the 23, running 3rd at the moment.
Action line marking VY Commodore, as mentioned. That's pretty much the newest Holden in the field. In the Commodores, you're allowed to run VY and VZ Commodores. The newest model Ford that you're allowed to run as an AU. They did experiment with some BA and some BF Falcons at one stage, but they found that it was just a bit hard to manage the parity relative to the Holdens. That's always been one of the challenges for the organisers of the saloon cars over the years, is making sure that the Holdens and the Fords are evenly matched, and they do that with a range of regulations around minimum weights and minimum ride heights and various other things to try to equalise the performance, because you don't want one manufacturer dominating.
XR6s?
The AU Falcons are XR6s, yes. But like I said, they don't run the independent rear suspension. They run a live rear axle, which, coming out of the slower corners, it actually helps them a bit, but through the faster turns, the independent rear suspension of the Holdens is generally a bit better balanced. So, like I said, strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the circuit.
1.5 seconds the margin between Grant Johnson and Brendan Madden, our first and second in this race at the moment. Scott Dornan in third. Then down to Matt Martin in fourth place. And a good start from Brock Rolfe. He's worked his way up into fifth from the back of the grid.
So there is Grant Johnson's teammate, Matt Martin, second of the Adrenaline Performance Commodores. Currently sitting in position 4, in between another 2 holders. He's got Scott Dornan just ahead, Brock Rolfe behind. Brock Ralph's car ground to a halt out on the circuit yesterday and had to be retrieved by the officials, but good to see that that car's been repaired and is back out on the circuit today. And confirmation that the 5-second time penalty for Rick Gill is indeed for jumping the start. Easy to do here at Sydney Motorsport Park with the downhill slope on the main straight. It can be very easy to creep forward before the red lights are extinguished.
Yep, so Rick Gill currently down to 8th place. And that 5-second penalty keeps him in 8th at the moment, with a 6-second margin for himself and Reginald Rolfe in 10th place. Cars crossing the line for the end of their third lap. Under 10 minutes now, 9 minutes to go in this race. And Grant Johnson still our leader.
Chris Neefsey starting to recover some of the time that he lost with that problematic start earlier on. He's moved back up to 6th position and starting to make up some ground on Brock Rolfe. And oh no, that's, speaking of Brock Rolfe, off the road at turn 2. Wow, he's gone a long way off the road there, and he's actually made contact with the time wall.
Gee whiz,
that's a massive off-track excursion.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's had a brake problem or something, because he's gone way off into the boondocks.
We spoke about this yesterday also, Lockie, the fact that it's been so wet around here that there's just no traction under the tyres. When you get into that green stuff, it is just slippery slope. And I think that's exactly what's happened there. There was no way he had an opportunity to pull up. The car's just gone straight across the grass.
He's gone so far off that he just about needs a street directory or GPS to navigate his way back to the circuit. He's picked up reverse gear and manages to get the number 13 Valmont Coatings Commodore back onto the track, but he will be stone motherless last.
I'm doubting whether he hit the tyres. He obviously went to the tyres, but didn't. I'm not sure if he hit them because that car seemed to drive away fairly nicely.
If he did make contact with the tyres, it was only very light. Fortunately, he managed to wash most of the speed off before he actually got there, but he will have picked up a heap of garbage on his actual tyres on the car, so he'll have to take it very gingerly for the next half a lap or so to make sure that the car's still performing okay.
I hope they pack the Karcher in the truck.
The high-pressure washer.
High-pressure washer. Underneath that, we'll have a lot of mud underneath that car.
Grant Johnson has just punched out the fastest lap of the race as he continues to extend his margin over Brandon Madden. 2.3 seconds the margin, 1 minute 48.7 the best time for Grant Johnson. A lap record for Saloon cars. He set way back in 2011 by Sean Jamieson, who won a couple of national titles in the Australian Saloon Car Series. 1 minute 47.5 Jamo's lap record. Be interesting to see if Grant Johnson or any of the other drivers in the field can get down into the 147s this weekend. And just to explain how the National Saloon Car title works, Tony, it's not based on points. So the first 4 races of the weekend are all heat races. It's race 5 that's the grand final. So whoever wins race 5 will be the Australian Saloon Car champion.
There you go. Grant Johnson, still our man, still leading this race, ahead of that man right there, Brendan Madden, in second place. The margin now up to 2.7 seconds, and then a decent gap between Madden and Dornan in third place.
And Brock Ralph has brought the Valmont Coatings VX Commodore back into the pit, so clearly all is not well with that car. After that almighty off-track excursion at turn 2, and that car's gone into the garage, so there's some work for that team to get the issues resolved and get that car back on track for the 4th and final heat race a bit later on. Fastest lap once again for Grant Johnson, 1 minute 48.7 that time through. 2.6 seconds his margin to Brandon Madden, who punched out his personal best lap of the race at 49.0. Brandon Madden's not too far away from Grant Johnson in terms of outright speed, and the margin between the Holden and the Ford at the front of the field is not huge. So that'll be encouraging for Brandon Madden, the fact that at least he's able to stay in touch with Grant Johnson.
Spectacular career for Grant Johnson, driving cars. Of course, he was in the V8 Ute series, has done 12 hours at Bathurst, was even in a Bathurst 1000, I think, co-driving with Nathan Preddy.
And also with Kerry Wade as well, back in 2003 in the second of the Larkham Motorsport Falcons. So, yes, he has competed in the Bathurst 1000. He also won the Chance for Lifetime Talent Scout competition that was run by MoPro Australia, and did a full season in what was then the Konica series, what we would now describe as the Dunlop Super 2 series in 2002.
Even driven around Sepang as well, so been around for a while, Grant Johnson, and that experience showing right here at the moment as we go back through the field a little bit. Chris Neefsey currently in 5th place in his AU Ford Falcon.
So that time's actually been pretty good. He's pretty much the 3rd fastest driver on the track at the moment, apart from Johnson and Madden. So he's back up to 5th position after falling right to the tail of the field with that stall on the grid at the start of the race. He's been pretty quick all weekend, Chris Neefsey, so the other driver who I reckon will be podium calculations, although as I say that he goes very deep at turn 2, runs wide right out to the concrete extension on the outside of the circuit.
That wasn't pretty at all, was it? Back in trim though, as he heads off. Holds on to 5th place. Rick Gill just behind him in 6th. He's also working his way back up through the field after an incident earlier on.
Rick Gill, though, has that 5-second time penalty hanging over his head for the false start. In terms of the Pro-Am class, Michael Koberstein is the best place of the drivers in the old model cars at the moment, currently sitting in 7th position outright, ahead of Andrew Martin and Reginald Ralph. And we're going to have a checkered flag this time around, Tony.
This will be it for the guys. Being told by our good mate Gary O'Brien from Auto Action that one of the Ralphs was stuck in 5th gear. It doesn't matter though for Grant Johnson. He's all gears at the moment as he takes the win ahead of Brendan Madden in 2nd place. Big gap to Scott Dornan, who hits the line now